Hello, and on the gaming table today, we're taking a look at a Warmaster Revolution battle between the Vampire Counts, or the Vampire Jarls, and the Dogs of War. So here Chris had his new Dogs of War army ready to go. He'd played Dogs of War before using proxy figures, but now he's actually got a full army here, and he wanted to try out huge blocks of pike to see how they would go. Meanwhile, I had my Vampire Counts army, the Norse-themed version, which is fresh off the painting table, first time on the gaming table, and so we'll just see how these go today. So here you can see the two forces set up and ready to go. The terrain we had done with a terrain generator that Chris has tried to develop based on the DBMM rules, so we were trying that out for the first time. And also the basic tactics here today, based on the terrain, Chris is going to try and put his huge blocks of pike between the two woods and basically defend, and I'm going to try and use my infantry in the middle, and two big forces of cavalry, which are going to try and work around the woods and hit him in the flanks. So let's see how that goes. And so here the Dogs of War taking their first turn. Now in Chris's army, he's got the minimum of infantry except for his pikes. He's got as many pikes as he can take. He's also got 2 galloper guns. He's got 4 units of knights and also a unit of birdmen. And he's got a couple of spellcasters and 2 heroes and a lord, I believe. So yeah, here he's moving up and getting his forces between these woods. He's going to use them to anchor. And then we'll see what I can do to his flanks, perhaps, around these woods. Now, in my turn, moving up the bulk of my infantry in the middle and the cavalry around the flanks as best I can. Not doing too many orders, just moving up kind of steadily. This is the first time I've used a Vampire Counts army. I've played Tomb Kings quite a lot, and for my Tomb Kings army, it usually revolves around a fair bit of shooting and a lot of magic. And so this army's a little bit different, right? There are more maneuverable units, and there are also some more different units, like ethereal hosts and things like this. So for me, this was trying out something quite a bit different here. And I was just kind of curious to see how it goes. My basic plan here was, I was going to try and get around the flanks, but also I was just going to have a go at the big pike blocks as an experiment, and we'll just kind of see what happens. Can the undead, in a relatively even fight, take out these pike blocks? Or are the pike blocks just going to be too tough to take down? Let's find out. So you can see in Chris's second turn, maintaining his line, he had some shots with his galloper guns and managed to drive back a unit of skeletons behind some ethereal hosts there. And also he angled his pike block at the top of the screen to counter against my cavalry at the very top of the screen there. However, as you can see, that's opened up his flank a bit, which I'll try and take advantage of shortly. And so here, moving up the infantry, just sending 2 units in on 2 orders to manage to hit the pike block in the flank there, and the plan will be to raise some dead there later. Then just moving the rest of the basic infantry up, again maintaining the line, and at some stage soon, a couple of orders from now, we'll get engaged with the big pike block. In the magic phase, managed to get a unit of dead off in the back of the pike block here, and so then the combat there was relatively predictable, hitting the pike in the flank. They didn't get many attacks. There were some crossbowmen right behind them, and so the raised dead managed to take care of most of those. So it took 2 rounds to get rid of the first unit of pike and the crossbowmen behind them. Then the raised dead deployed against the cavalry counterattack, which was sure to come. Meanwhile, the other dead, the ones I'd ordered in the first place, advanced into the next unit of pike and managed to beat them up pretty well as well. Didn't quite kill them off, but then after that just withdrew back and ready for the counter charge. This was also the reason I was only sending 2 units in, because I know after they have their first go at the enemy, they're going to get whacked in an initiative charge coming back the other way. So doing a bit of damage but not losing too much in return would be the order of the day here. In that sequence there, you would have also seen lots of pointed fingers at different things and goings on there. That was just going through and helping Chris understand the pursuit rules and then the advance rules, things like where stuff has to retreat to and so on. I'm a bit more familiar with the rules than Chris is, and so just helping him out in that regard. So there's Chris's counter charge going in. He managed to get, I think, 3 or 4 units in there, including pike and some swordsmen. Chris also maneuvered quite a lot of his units to try and keep away from my cavalry on both flanks and make sure he was going to be able to get some counter charges with his knights in the future. Kind of blocked himself in the middle with crossbowmen in front of the knights, so they are not going to get involved so easily. And then also he used his galloper guns in shooting to do quite a bit of damage to the big block of zombies there. Broke them up quite a bit as well and took 1 unit down to 1 stand remaining, so that was a bit nasty. The unit of knights at the back managed to get rid of the raised dead. That was always going to happen, but they were there as a speed bump. Just keeps the knights occupied, so they can't do much else this turn. And then in the combat, he managed to take out the 2 units who charged his position. The combat there didn't really go quickly. It took 2 turns for him to get rid of those units there. So the pikemen were doing quite a bit of damage, but at this stage, things were going okay for me. But after he'd managed to do that, he managed to get an advance off, and he got into the flank of the zombies over here with one of his pike units. So that was a good move by him, managing to get in there and do quite a bit of damage to those zombies before he fell back. One unit fell back a little bit more towards my table edge there, so it's in a position where it can do me some damage in following turns. My turn again, so time to go much more heavily on the offensive this turn. So starting with some homebacks for one of the units of flyers, just to get it into a position for later, and then trying to move the cavalry around the flanks. The cavalry was having a really slow go of it. They were managing to get 1 order off, but not 2, and so that was really holding them up. But here, right at the bottom of the screen, I managed to get 2 units of direwolves around the corner, and I wanted them to charge into the rear of the pike, and then I was going to try and engage the pike from the front as well. However, that order didn't come off. So then over to the infantry, 1 brigade didn't manage to get its 2nd order off to get into contact, but the other brigade did. I also managed to drop 1 unit of flyers in behind there as well. And when it came time to cast spells, Chris actually wondered at the end of the game why I also didn't raise some dead into that combat as well. I actually thought about it, but I thought, let's just see how it goes without putting them in. But let's see what happens if I don't do that, and we just have the ethereal host with their terror going up against the pikes. So the terror is one advantage. Let's see if it's enough to make things happen. And so in the end, it wasn't quite enough to make things happen. I won the first round of combat and managed to push him back a centimetre, not enough to run into the flyers. And then in the second round of combat, the undead lost the combat, and so they got pushed back, and Chris moved forward with 1 unit in pursuit to engage in the next turn, and the other units he held back ready for the countercharge, as it were, where he didn't have to keep the tracked over hits on those units. So then in Chris's turn, he was getting stuck in with lots and lots of initiative charges. He had the knights go into the direwolves, he had the infantry go into the undead infantry, lots of things going on all over the field where he's just engaging pretty much everything he can to quite good effect. He also managed to get a couple of orders off in the middle of the table to open a gap and get some of his knights through there as well into the center of my line, and so that was also going to hurt. And so then, to cut a long story short, over the next minute or so here, you'll see Chris pretty much dice up everything he touched. He managed to take out direwolves, he managed to take out flyers, he managed to take out big blocks of infantry, lots of things all over the table. And this actually took me very, very quickly to my break point. And so here, just as you're watching things wrap up here with all of the moves going on, we'll just kind of do a quick summary of what happened here. From Chris's perspective, he wanted to try out the pikemen today and see how the pikemen went in these big blocks. Now, just like historical pikemen, the flanks being exposed is obviously going to be a big problem. He was helped out a little bit here by the terrain, sure, but it was interesting just to see in a stand-up fight, both on the defense and on the attack, what pikemen are like. And I think Chris decided that, yeah, pikemen are worth it. They are fairly cheap, they do quite a bit of damage, and so even though they're going to take damage in return, they can probably dish out as good as they get, and so as long as you keep your flanks covered, things aren't too bad for the pike. So his Dogs of War army overall here looks pretty solid. And so on my side, with the Vampire Counts kind of army here, yeah, I was moving around the flanks as much as I could, and I could have just held back with the infantry in the middle and waited until those flanks developed, but I decided, no, let's just get stuck in. So I wasn't trying to play to win necessarily, it was an experiment, it was my first time using the army. I'm interested in just seeing what happens. I was kind of pleasantly surprised with the ethereal hosts. They're pretty good. The terror, of course, is going to help them out. And the zombies, not too bad. They've got 4 hits and no armor, but yeah, they can take quite a bit of punishment. And so I need to refine how I use this army. It's very different to the Tomb Kings for me. And so I'll try it out in a few more games and see what I can make of it. And so that's another game of Warmaster, and a good chance for both of us to learn more about the armies we've got in our collections and how they play against something a little bit different. We'll do some more learning together and we'll have a lot more fun, and that's what Warmaster's all about. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.